And welcome back to the back nine and the final 9 holes of the 2017 Hall of Fame Classic. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, joined by Elaine King, 5-time women's world champion. We don't have time for all of your titles, Elaine, but it looks like we're having a lot of fun here on a Sunday morning out at the Jackson course. We just watched Melody Waibel and Paige Pierce throw their tee shots. And here at 579 feet, hole 10, what are your plans? What are you trying to do here?
Well, here what you want to do is hit the enormous gap on the right and get as far as you can. It's a little bit uphill, so ideally you want to get on the flat. You ideally do not want to let your disc hyzer in early and be working amongst the trees on a slope. So we were all successful in getting up on the flat, 4 good shots.
Yeah, and this is a really good position for you, but you have an uphill slope a little bit as you're throwing your run up, and it seemed like you released that a little low.
I released it low. There was no reason for it. Melody trying to get around the corner there, and it's hard to get through those trees.
I was trying to give you a good excuse there, Elaine. You could take it.
You threw a softball at me. I appreciate it. Now, Kat had a beautiful throw. She went way to the left with a nice turnover and gave herself a look at the basket.
And that looks like it would have been great by Paige had it not kissed off the tree. And you're going with the big Annie around everything and just a bit short, but that's a good looking shot.
Yep, I got a little tree love there. Yeah, Melody from the woods gets hers up close to the basket.
And Paige drops to one knee, then has the forehand. Holy cow.
She hit the basket. She hit the basket. It was almost a 3. Just a little bit low.
Melody left hole 8 with a little bit of frustration. We see her tap in here on 10. And the round hasn't gone exactly how she had drawn it up earlier. We'll see if she can keep her emotions in check. We're moving on from 10 after the tap-ins. Hole 11, 240 feet, and the start of what I believe they call Turkey Gulch.
Yes, they call it Turkey Gulch. These are 3 very short holes, but holes where the terrain can be a little bit variable. I like hole 11 the best of them. For a right-hand backhander, what you need to do is throw just a very straight shot. And then there's a slope that slopes to OB, and you just want to land flat. The disc will skid a bit to the left, that's fine. But yeah, if you hyzer it too much, like happened there, you can be OB. Now Melody was a bit short, so she sets hers up. She had turned hers over just a little bit too much.
Yeah, from that position, you really just have to lay it up. Well, unless you're Paige, then you run at everything.
Well, Paige is on a mission, and she gave that a good try, and fortunately it did land inbounds.
And you're in a great position because you're able to putt uphill at the basket and be a little bit more aggressive.
But there was a tree all in my way, unfortunately. Paige makes the back putt. That was not an easy back putt.
And just beyond Paige, you see the flagger down there, flagging, of course, a volunteer, indicating safe or OB for all 3 of these holes, whether it could be 11, 12, or 13. We want to thank all of the volunteers and staff of the PDGA and of the event for all their tremendous help throughout the weekend. Catrina, easy birdie right next to the pin, and you have just this little tap in for a 3. So not as many birdies as we'd like on the first hole, but let's move on to the shortest hole found on the course, hole number 12. And even after the great start, we're seeing that Paige and the rest of the card just not able to catch up to Catrina at this point. She seems to be pretty focused.
Catrina's playing extremely steadily.
And hole 12 is just 216 feet, but plenty of danger. I'm going to go ahead and say I think it's a fair assessment that this might be the least favorite hole of quite a few players.
Well, I'll just say it. This is not good hole design. A good shot may be rewarded by nestling in, or a good shot may hit a tree, a root, and roll out of bounds. And it's very variable, and there's nothing a good player can do to assure that their shot will stay on the level ground and stick.
And that may have been one of the furthest hat rolls I have ever seen on the course after Paige threw her approach shot.
If the hat rolls like that, what can the disc do?
And Paige is able to get up and down and card the 3
Yeah,
for
she
par.
scrambled for a 3, and you saw how steep that slope is and how many trees. That was good. Melody and I, fortunately, our discs nestled in there.
Yeah, getting them to sit next to that basket is very difficult, almost no matter what angle you put on them. So being able to get this close and have them actually stay there's plenty of skill, but a little luck there as well.
Oh, there definitely is luck on this hole because you cannot aim it on that very narrow flat strip and land fully on the flat strip. It's going to skip up and hit the slope, and then it would either stick or it would pick up and roll, and you cannot control which. Yeah, Melody was having a little trouble there. She's on a very awkward route that's making her footing pretty uneven.
And she's in for the birdie. We're moving on.
Whew, that hole's over with.
Hole 13 at 231 feet, also short, but it's all about the angle. You need to make sure that when that disc comes in, it's flat and hopefully it just sits down for you.
Yes, and even when it's flat, there's tons of roots, and depending on how it hits a root, yeah, it'll do something like that.
Yours checks up, you get the green flag, and again, you're putting uphill, which you can be a little bit more confident, a little bit more aggressive with, but in great position for birdie, and Catrina, just the right amount of touch.
Yeah, that sat there nicely. She's got a bit of a downhill putt, and Paige peering it, and yep, that settled in nicely, giving her a chance.
And a great birdie from just below the basket. Paige, as we've said before, she likes to be level with the basket as best as she can, and the right side chain pulls it in. Solid birdie for Paige, throwing a putter off the tee. What were you throwing off the tee? Was that a putter as well?
I was throwing a mid-range.
A mid-range. And Melody frustrated with herself on that not grabbing any metal. She's lucky it stayed as close to the pin as it did and not able to get the comebacker. She's struggling here on 13.
Yeah, it's very intimidating putting on that hole because you know if you miss, that disc could do anything. It's not like there's some nice flat level ground where it would just sit. There's lots and lots of roots there.
And Catrina, so 3 birdies and a bogey. That's hole 13. Hole 14 is no walk in the park. Let's move on. Seeing a little bit more blue fill the scorecard as you take the honors here on 14, and that looks like a really good shot getting out into the opening.
Yes, it's a blind shot, so again, it's really tough to place the disc exactly where you want it because you cannot see where you're throwing.
And there's a downward slope once you get into the opening, and then it plays up and over a hill and then back down a hill. This hole has a little bit of everything to it.
There's lots of elevation changes. There are groves of trees on the first part of the course, and then on the second part of the hole you've got a random scattering of trees.
Melody from the left side looks like you really want to get up to the top of the hill from just about any position you're in. If you can get to the top of the hill and look down at the basket, I feel like you're doing it right, and maybe not enough hyzer angle for you there?
Yeah, I had to weave it through the trees with an anhyzer, and I thought I threw a stable enough disc to turn, but it caught the tree. Cat, great shot. She's up and over, so that is a higher than normal distance for the second shot.
And there again, a blind shot. It looked like you had a good angle there, but you mentioned the scattering of trees, and you got a few of those as you're trying to head back down the hill. This is a tight gap for Melody to hit.
And
Just
a
not
bit
enough.
low. Yeah, often when you're trying to hit a tight gap, you end up throwing a little bit low.
Oh, that is that officially a hat trick of sorts there by Paige?
She might need to
And
tighten up
whoa,
on that
whoa,
hat.
what did we just see? Was that a forehand?
I bring them out when I have no other option.
And an approach down. Again, even this approach, you cannot underestimate it because it can easily catch an edge and roll down past the basket, leaving you with a difficult, back putt, as you would say.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of elevation drop, and as you can see, you've really got to turn over your approach shot more than you might think, just so it will land flat and not hyzer out and away.
And Paige mentioned that her final night at camping, she said there were a few challenges, and I'm wondering if maybe a little not enough sleep has led her to not have enough power or energy for a few of her putts. That's at least the third or fourth putt that was just a few inches short. Sometimes that camp life will catch up with you if it's rowdy over there. So hopefully we'll see if she can pick things up as we finish out the rest of the round, as you guys descend down to the basket for some tap-ins. And we're moving on to 15. After getting done with hole 14, which was brutal, we moved to 15 in this. Is this the toughest hole on the course?
No, not for me. In fact, I got a 3 my first round. What you need to do is you need to take an understable disc, throw it flat, and let it have a slow turnover. If you're a right-hand backhander, it is very, very favorable for a sidearm as well, if you're a right-hander.
And there is OB on the left side, so you could go OB if you kick a tree and you go left, or you just fade out to the left. You can find yourself OB. And if you have a really big, powerful drive, you could actually go too far down the fairway and go OB that way as well, near the bridge. So it's all about placement. I just feel this is one of the most challenging tee shots. And as we see, all 4 of the women, you guys were challenged because now you have to pick your spots to be able to throw your approaches.
Exactly. Well, the key on the tee shot is not getting too greedy, and then the key on the second shot is hit your gap and just get as far as you can.
A 3, as you said on the previous day, I think is an excellent score for anyone, men, women, it does not matter. I think anytime you're walking away with a birdie 3 here, you've, again, thrown a couple of really good shots. And Catrina with the awkward stance, just not enough turn on that.
Yeah, we really hit an energy lull at this point. The back 9 is very mentally tough because you've got Turkey Gulch, which you feel like you should be deucing, and sometimes it doesn't work out that way for either a bad throw or a bad roll. And then you've got 2 tight challenges in a row with these holes. So yeah, I think the energy level was starting to plummet at this point.
You guys are nearing about 50 holes played for the weekend, and I could imagine just that. It was long and exhausting. Some of the male and female competitors just coming off the USDGC, both Catrina and Paige were there just a week ago. And it's been a long weekend, and it's been a long tour. That's a little bit high for Mello, but she gets it to drop. And we're going to move on to hole 16, a little bit of a reprieve, hopefully a birdie, as you guys move into the last few holes. And Catrina has the forehand approach here, 285 feet downhill. And I'm not sure it gets any better than that.
Well, you can hit the basket, but that's about all you can do. It's got a really good wide fairway, but it's very downhill, and so it favors a sidearm. If you're going to throw a backhand and you're right-handed, you need to throw a very beat-up disc with some anhyzer, and you got to hit that line. For lefties, it's a nice natural hyzer.
It looks like you had just about the right amount of turn, but
Just a little too much. Didn't swing it out wide enough.
and Melody's going to opt for a forehand, which we've only seen a few of. But again, you want it to fade left to right, and that is the good angle for her. However, not quite enough power, but she's still cutting logs there, it looks like, planted right into that side of that branch.
Well, the other side of the basket, the OB comes quite close, so you do want to be a little bit conservative on your approach shot. Make sure you hit on the right side of the basket. And my long attempt at deuce does not make it.
We've got Melody. She's trying to save her par, working hard.
It was in there for a moment.
That's when you know you're having a bad day, when you don't get any of the possible breaks that could go your way, and that seemed to be one of them. And Kat's just waiting around. She's under the pin, no big deal.
Doing her nails or something while we messed around.
Hole 16 is the last opportunity at a birdie 2. Of course, 17 and 18 can be birdied, but those are a par 4 and a par 5. So hole 16 is can be a little bit of a confidence booster as you're moving in to the very challenging remaining 2 holes. And Catrina's got the 2-foot tapper as we move on.
Good too. Sidearm. One day I'm going to do it.
Hole 17, 525 feet. This is a little bit shorter of a tee pad, but the gap is so small to hit as you need to throw perfectly straight and then up a hill. This hole is daunting.
It definitely is, and somehow it was easier before they put the big yellow arrow for the Mando. I had no problem hitting the Mando before that arrow, but the arrow just draws your eye to it.
I was just going to say that once you've drawn attention to it, and
I apologize to the folks at home. That kind of shot should not get that result.
it looks like you missed the fairway, but hey, sometimes you get a good break.
I was happy for my good break. That was not a good drive. Yeah, Melody snuck it through the trees there and ended up in a good spot.
She walks back off the tee and says to Paige, presumably, I dare you to take that route. And not something you want to do, but again, left side, and that was a nasty kick, even after making the mandatory. Catrina's on that left side, and you want to fight your way all the way up the hill. Get as far up the hill as you can on your second shot if you're...
Absolutely. If you're close to the top of the hill, then you can get up and down from there.
And Paige still fighting up that right side.
Yeah, I was not quite far enough up the hill to get it to the basket, but that's a good turnover. It put me in position.
At this point, with just a hole and a half to play, are you at all concerned about your score versus your nearest competitors? Seeming that, Catrina now looks to have this thing on lockdown. Are you thinking about, where am I in relation to anyone else, and, just love to secure this spot or that spot?
Well, I was very concerned about the second card. I knew I put myself down to 4th place, but the second card scores were very close. I was just not having a good day. I was not hitting my lines consistently. It was so easy the day before, and all of a sudden it was very hard on the last day. That's golf. And
that's why they say golf is a 4-letter word. Catrina's got a long look and plenty of power.
She almost made it.
Wow, what a And a shrug of the shoulder. She's sitting with a comfortable lead at this point. She knows she just has to wrap things up, but still aggressive even with this comfortable lead.
And why not? Why not play the best golf you can?
And a solid comeback putt.
That was not an easy putt.
Melody's trying to clean things up here on 17. Firm into the heart of the chains. And everyone else will be tapping in for their final putt here on 17. 18, a par 5 on deck. And you guys are going to be closing things out 53 holes down. And we're going to move on to hole 18. And with the honors on 18, 726 feet.
No, it did not get around.
You're asking it to get around one of them. And this hole has opened up, with the storms that had recently come through. This tee shot's a little easier than it has been in previous years.
I would definitely say the left side has opened up. So the left side's got a good route, but you need to throw a certain distance before you can use that left side. Otherwise, it tails off too soon.
And Catrina with a great tee shot. And Paige fighting up that left side. Looks like
Yes, a few spectators trying to cross the fairway.
getting in the way of the women's lead card. Come on now. You're going to collect your thoughts, make sure you get dialed in, and perfect footing. However, maybe a little more hyzer needed.
I held on to it just a wee bit long. It's hard when you've got uphill footing, and that's a very steep slope.
And that is a pretty good roll out to the fairway. It looks like...
It eventually made it to the fairway, which was great. Melody in position there. Has a little bit of turnover to it. We'll see how that one turns out.
And with the furthest drive in the group, Catrina putting herself in great position here. Again, that uphill run-up makes things very challenging, but that should work for her.
Throwing uphill is interesting because you do have to hang on to your throw a little bit longer than normal because you've got to work against the uphill. And similarly, when you're throwing downhill, it's a bit of an earlier release.
You opt for one of two discs, then you ultimately grab the one you need. How obstructed was your angle that we're not seeing here?
Well, I knew that all I could do was try and get to the gap, and I eventually chose my mid-range, which was the correct choice. I didn't know whether I needed a driver to make it there.
So playing for precision more so than distance there.
Exactly.
That sounds like a professional move, and Paige not able to get through the very narrow gap she has.
She tried for the aggressive gap, probably calculating that even if she hit, her score would end up being the same.
And Catrina making it look easy with that standstill. Unfortunately finds the one tree before the basket.
It's still a possible putt. That last tree is maybe 20 feet out.
Again, thanks to, great birdie for Melody, who'd struggled throughout the round. But as I was saying, thanks to the staff and the volunteers, you see the PDJ leaderboard. Here's your final putt of the tournament.
No, it wasn't my final putt of the tournament. Fortunately, it didn't matter as it turned out in the end.
And lining up what hopes to be her final putt of the tournament, Catrina Allen, here on hole number 18. This is for a birdie? Oh, that
Well
believe
done.
Yeah, wow, amazing performance by Catrina. Paige will tap in as well, it looks like. And I believe we have Michael Downs on site.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present to you your 2017 Ed Hedrick Disc Golf Hall of Fame Classic Champion, Catrina Allen. Congrats.
Love that you're like, Don't go too far.
Stay right here. Stay right here.
We'll check the scores and we'll sign out from there.
For the delay there.
That's all right. Thanks for coming over.
Of course.
So, of course, congratulations to Catrina Allen for winning this national tour event. Paige Pierce ultimately takes down the national tour points title as they're accepting their awards. And Elaine, any final parting shots from you?
It was great fun playing in the tournament. Really good competition, and as you'll see from the scores, there was quite a fight from 2nd to 5th place.
Well, thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure having you here for the commentary, and we'll catch you guys next time with Elaine King and the Disc Golf Guy.
Thank you, Dynamic Discs, Mail Stacks, Keen, and Hand Eye Supply.